Hello, this is attorney Scott Leswitz here for another video about these alleged scammers that somehow are able to upload into YouTube's Content ID system live versions or cover versions of famous songs, and then they record videos of themselves lip syncing to the song in front of a green screen, edit them to look like they are singing on X Factor or a Got Talent type show, and they often get lots of views from people who believe that they are real performances. And this video will focus especially on the what I think are frivolous claims by these people that these videos are somehow protected parody under the law and therefore not copyright infringement. So here's an example of one of those videos that I think, in my opinion, may be an example of somebody who's just lip syncing in front of a green screen while holding a baby. Okay, so I thought to illustrate my points about why these videos are not protected parody, I would do some undercover work. Amazingly, I somehow was able to use my connections and I was able to get onto America's Got Talent. And so here's some footage from my America's Got Talent appearance. And after the footage, I will discuss this and use this as an example to talk about parody and the copyright law and these, alleged scammer videos. My act right now is surely going to make you judges cry because I'm singing an emotional song while holding a dog. All right, here we go. If I could only make you understand, it truly would be grand. I'm gonna tell her on my baby, asking, won't you please come home? Oh. Okay, so for the next part of my act, I'm gonna do a magic trick because I know that when anyone ever does a magic trick for you guys, you act like an 8-year-old who's never seen a magic trick the way you overreact. So anyway, I'm gonna pick a totally random volunteer. So it's a totally random volunteer I've never met before. Thank you, Kobe, for volunteering. I appreciate it, Kobe. Okay, so Kobe, you have to follow this coin and then tell me which hand it's in. Okay? Okay. Okay, which hand's the coin in? Oh, I'm sorry, it's in that hand. Oh, wait a minute, there's 2 coins. No! No! There was 2 coins all along. That's amazing. So I'm going to first talk to you about why I believe what I just showed you is a protected parody. Hopefully it was funny and entertaining as well. Then I'm going to talk about why the alleged scam videos where they pretend to sing on a talent show like I did are not protected parody. So the big question with parody is whether the use of the copyrighted material in the parody constitutes fair use. If not, there is clearly infringement. For instance, in my parody video, I used actual copyrighted footage from America's Got Talent without permission, and that is only allowed if it is fair use. And if it is fair use, like I think it is, then I do not need to obtain a license, and I do not need to pay America's Got Talent anything. Right, so while the fair use statute does not explicitly list parody as an example of something that is potentially fair use, the United States Supreme Court has recognized that parody may be fair use. And the most famous example of this was a case in which the Supreme Court found that 2 Live Crew's version of Pretty Woman was a protected parody. However, generally for a parody using copyrighted material to be protected as fair use, the parody, at least in part, must comment on the original work. For example, the Supreme Court found that Two Live Crew's version of Pretty Woman critiqued the original Pretty Woman and the original's naivete and unrealistic view of what a relationship with a prostitute would be like. So, as an example of a real case in which a court rejected a claim of parody, there was a case where the defendant had given out satirical online awards of the Emmy statuettes holding up a coronavirus to honorees that had downplayed the COVID-19 pandemic. And because while the use of the copyrighted image of the Emmy statuette was for political satire and commentary, the defendant was not commenting at all about the Emmys. Okay, so in the case of my parody, the biggest issue I had was whether I could use copyrighted material from America's Got Talent for the sole purpose of parodying these alleged scam videos where people pretend to sing on shows like America's Got Talent. What I did was I was careful that my parody was commenting or criticizing the America's Got Talent. So that's why I was careful to make sure it was pretty clear that I was, parodying the often over the top reactions of the judges on the show. But as for the song, to me, there's no question. If I picked a copyrighted song to sing or lip sync along to, I should actually say, to me, there's no question that would be infringement. It would not be fair use. And so I use a recording, an old recording that was that's in the public domain. All right, so quickly now let's at the end get back to these, alleged scam America's Got Talent videos. I think that they're not fair use because I think there's just no way you can really claim that they're commenting on or criticizing the Got Talent or X Factor type shows. They're actually trying to make it look like they really were on these shows and get people to believe they were really on these shows. And that's how they get so many views largely. And definitely, though, the songs that they lip sync to or pretend to sing or whatever they're doing, there I think it's even clearer that it's not fair use, it's infringement, because they're definitely not commenting on the songs they're picking and singing to. They're just picking a song that they think will get a lot of views. So, anyway, with that, I got some other projects along the way on this that have been taking too long. Hopefully, if you haven't already, subscribe and stay in the loop. So, thank you.